Center of this whole debacle, this whole mess, Albert Alexander. Like I said in the Stitch video, a lot of people are trying to victim blame. They're trying to blame the young lady, Tyra Crosby. No, he manipulated her. She's 25 years old. This man right here, he's old enough to know, old enough to be her father, probably old enough to be her grandfather. But he manipulated her. He is the one who is manipulative in between his wife and Miss Crosby. Going through his profile, you don't see any pictures of his wife. It's like he's just single, you know. You don't see any pictures of his wife. Some older pictures, way down there. But, you know, it makes you wonder, you know, this guy playing the field where they separated, you know, what's going on with it. But this right here is the guy who manipulated the young lady, right? So don't nobody try to victim blame that young lady, right? She was manipulated. She was manipulated. He met her at a club or something, one of those places. Let's continue praying for her family. And I do strongly believe that he should be charged also, because he's the one who's in the center of all this. He could have saved her life. He invited her over. He got into his flesh. He wanted whatever he wanted and everything, but he manipulated this young lady. He should be charged also. He was right there when all this took place, so he needs to be charged also.
So I'm here, simply here, begging and pleading for justice for my child.
Thursday night, Tanya Hoskins wanted to make sure that her daughter, Tyra Crosby, was not forgotten and that her full story was shared.
She was our angel, our flower, murdered unnecessarily, lured to a home, and brutally beaten and murdered.
The vigil held by mothers of murdered offspring for those who knew the 25-year-old, many of them saying she was kind and loving.
She was beautiful. Her soul, her spirit, inside and out.
She gonna be our angel on our shoulder.
She always knew what to say.
Lighting candles and prayers and releasing balloons, trying to deal with the pain of her death, including her mother, who was the last to light a candle in her memory.
Just to see how many lives she touched and the love that she had in her heart.
I want it to be known, if me or you kill somebody, we have to stand the consequence, and we can't vow out on a crime of passion.
After over a year of uncertainty, the convicted killer in the tragic death of 25-year-old Tyra Crosby has been sentenced. 53-year-old Stephanie Alexander pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter on December 5th. Alexander was originally charged with second-degree murder after the fatal shooting of Crosby in a northwest Charlotte neighborhood in July of 2023. It was the early hours of July 18th, 2023, when Charlotte Mecklenburg police responded to reports of gunshots in the area near 500 Porter Street. When they arrived, they found Tyra Crosby dead from a gunshot wound. According to police, Alexander, who had returned home to find Crosby inside her residence with her husband, called 911 shortly after the incident. In a chilling phone call, Alexander told authorities, "I came home and I saw a woman in my house. I pulled out my gun and shot, and she's not moving." Alexander's initial charges were elevated from second-degree murder to voluntary manslaughter after the case was reviewed. In court documents, Alexander was sentenced to 60 to 84 months in prison, a sentence handed down following her guilty plea. The pain of losing her daughter during the holiday season is a constant reminder of the injustice she feels. Surveillance footage and GPS data from Tyra's phone revealed that her daughter was at an arcade with Alexander's husband just hours before the shooting, a detail that leads Hoskins to believe her daughter was lured to the home on Porter Street under false pretenses. While some in the community and the Crosby family hoped for a trial, Alexander's guilty plea now closes the chapter on the case, but not on the pain it has caused. Prosecutors have yet to respond publicly to questions about any potential plea deals offered during the course of the trial. As Alexander heads to prison for her role in this tragic death, questions remain over whether the sentence truly reflects the gravity of the crime. For the family of Tyra Crosby, the fight for justice continues.
Stephanie Alexander is due in court here later this week, charged with second-degree murder. Prosecutors say she shot and killed Tyra Crosby. Now, I spoke with Crosby's mother earlier today, and she tells me this case is not what it seems. The holiday decor can be deceiving.
We spent hours on the phone just talking.
It's hard for Tanya Hoskins to get into the Christmas spirit, knowing her daughter's spirit is all she has left to hold on to.
Around the holidays, it's really hard.
Police say 25-year-old Tyra Crosby was shot and killed at a home on Porter Street in July of last year. The woman who loved fashion even started her own clothing line, gone in an instant.
She was so spontaneous, always caring, so loving to me. And I miss that about her.
Hoskins says her daughter went to a man's home that fateful night, not knowing he had a wife, Stephanie Alexander, who lived there too. Police say Alexander walked in and shot and killed Crosby.
This lady killed her in cold blood with no remorse.
Hoskins just can't understand why and says her daughter would have never gone to that house uninvited.
The man invited her there. She didn't break and enter. She didn't just come unannounced. I can't see how she would take an innocent child's life instead of allowing her to leave her home. Because at that point, the man brought her there.
On Thursday, court records show Alexander will be arraigned on a second-degree murder charge. Crosby's mother hopes the court will hear all sides as she fights for her late daughter.
As strong as all you know, you have to keep going.
Her world was shattered after learning of the death of her daughter. And as she prepares to face the person accused of ending her life, Hoskins says she just wants the woman held accountable. A vibrant life full of promise tragically cut short.
Just was so outgoing, so spontaneous, such a beautiful soul.
The weight of the grief heavy for Tanya Hoskins as she prepares to face the woman accused of killing her daughter, 25-year-old Tyra Crosby, in a courtroom Thursday.
And my body is literally drained to have to go in and face murderers, to actually see her, to see who took my child's life.
51-year-old Stephanie Alexander is charged with second-degree murder. According to CMPD, Alexander is accused of shooting and killing Crosby in her Northwest Charlotte home in July of 2023, claiming she was a stranger. But Hoskins says the truth is more complicated.
She even said to the 911 caller that there was an intruder. Your husband brought her there. You knew she wasn't an intruder at that time, at that point of time. He knew that him and his wife shared that home together. My daughter was innocent in it.
Hoskins recalls the last time she saw her daughter alive.
I did see hours before she was led to the house, she was in a sweepstakes with him. We could see it on camera, which was the last video that I saw of her alive.
Hoskins says what happened that night was heartless and a senseless act that robbed her daughter of a future. And Hoskins' demand is clear.
Justice looks like for me is that she would get the time that she deserves for murdering my child.
Hoskins says she continues to hold on to her daughter's memory and her fight for justice.
Well, here he is. This is Albert Alexander. He is a married man who caused a 25-year-old young woman to lose her life. How did it happen? He invited this 25-year-old girl over to his house knowing that he had a wife and 5 children. The wife came home, saw the 25-year-old woman in her house. She pulled out a gun, tortured her, and then took her life. Now we say tortured because Tyra Crosby's mother says that there is a voicemail recording of her daughter calling her and pleading for help because the wife had attacked her while she was at home with the woman's husband. It appears that she had just met Albert Alexander that night and he had taken her to their home. Many speculate that he was having marital problems and wanted to show his 51-year-old wife that he could get a younger woman. Now, mind you, this man has 5 children, 4 sons and a daughter who he seems to be absolutely crazy about. And look at his beautiful wife. I mean, she went from looking like this to a mugshot. Sadly, his wife of 5 children, these charges could be up from voluntary manslaughter, which she was charged with She paid $250,000 bond, got out of jail, but she has to go back to court in August. And in August, they could increase those charges to murder. I spent much of last night doing a background check on Albert Alexander. He's the 54-year-old man that enticed a 25-year-old woman to go to he and his wife's home so that the wife could catch the woman in there, so I guess he could show her he could get a younger woman. I'm absolutely exhausted. This man's record is just... When this stuff comes out in court, I mean, he's typical, but it's just exhausting because you look at him and every black woman has met him. He's either somebody you dated, your husband, he is your brother, he's your nephew, he's your grandson. Just exhausting. He asked somebody else to marry him in 2014 after they helped him through a crisis. He's got a rap sheet. He's went from woman to woman living in women's houses. He's got at least five mixed match kids by different women. This woman looked like a Barbie doll when he first got with her. He married her in 2020, 2023. Look at her in the mugshot. And all of his social medias, they're filled with mammies, with black women pandering to black men. You shouldn't have to worry about a black man having no money. You should just get him and build him and let him live with you and just take care of him. That kind of rhetoric. Those are the type of women that he was and he's also into the whole, he wants to lead and the woman needs to follow his lead. And he's bald headed with a beard and a pot belly. Y'all, I'm going to stop. And I'm just going to wait till the case is time to cover the case. I'm not doing any more stories about this man. He has already, you can look at his social media, not even the background check, and see exactly who he is and exactly what he did. You know, as someone mentioned, black men are experts on weaponizing black women against each other. This is not the first time that he's done this either. This is just probably the first time that someone has had a woman that he has gotten pitted against another black woman. This is probably the first time that somebody's life has been taken. And judging by looking at his background check, I bet you if they confiscate his phone, which they probably have, there's video of it. Because this is the type of stuff that Albert Alexander liked. He liked to see black women fight over him.
And I'm going to use the word allegedly when it comes to the husband. I don't want no issues. But we know what it is. So it's something that I've come across on the father's page, and I don't know if y'all seen the video of the mother, Tanya, and it was a word that was used, lured. Now I know when people are upset, they say a lot of different things, especially if it's your child. But what I can say about the mother and the father, they love their child. Correction, they love their children. So now again, I repeat, they use the word lured. And I hate the fact that people are saying that she was a mistress. That young lady was not a mistress, so I wish people would stop saying that. Now back to the word lured. Now, could there be a possibility that this was intentionally a setup to take her there just so that this woman can hurt this beautiful young lady? Y'all do know it's done all the time. And then everywhere I turn, she shouldn't have been in his bed. People placing blame on the young